In today's video, we're going to change the fuel filter in your 21 and up Eco Diesel Gladiator. So, if you want to save some money, my local dealer's hourly rate's like $120, and that filter alone costs $70. You can do this job for yourself with a bare minimum of tools. It takes you about 15-20 minutes. Depends on how long you want to spend, getting your stuff out and cleaning up at the end. So, one thing you're going to need is a 1 1/8" or metric equivalent socket. So, and you're going to need a ratchet, a very short extension with a 10mm socket, and a little bit of common sense, the ability to read your manual, and a small theory and knowledge about how diesel engines operate and how terrible they don't like air in the fuel system. So let's get into it. Thank you for watching. Okay, so your fuel filter housing is located basically in the middle of your driver's door underneath, just inside the frame. It is behind this nifty skid pan that they have made for it. So the first step is going to be removing 3 10mm bolts located here, here, and here. So I'll get that pulled off there, and then we'll move on. Alright, this is what you should see once you get your skid pan removed. Here's the skid pan itself. We'll clean that out on the inside, and your 1, 2, 3 bolts. What you're going to do is you have a little petcock here. It looks like a a radiator drain. You're going to loosen this up and drain the fuel out of the fuel filter housing. And you're going to be careful with that because it's all plastic. So we're going to let this drain. Once you're done draining, you want to tighten that back up. You just want to go snug with it. Don't get out of hand with it, you'll break it. So the next thing we want to do is take our fuel filter housing cap off. Kind of the same thing with that. We want to be ginger with it. It's plastic. It will break. Now we still got some fuel in there, so we're going to be very careful on how we unthread this. Don't let it fall in the nasty drain pan. And you probably want to wear gloves. Okay, now that's got diesel fuel all over it. Do not set it anywhere it will get dusty or anything like that. For the time frame, we are done with it. So the next thing you're going to do is come up in here. See these 2 prongs? Now that should be a water sensor. We want to pull this filter down out of here. Gotta go get my hand clean. This fuel filter is pretty tight on those prongs in there. Here we go. Now it's coming. Alright. As you can see, there's our fuel filter. We'll take an investigative look at that here shortly. But for now, I'm going to set it right over there. Now, what I want to do is take a look inside this housing, just for my curiosity. So, oh yeah, everything looks good and clean. There's 2 little prongs up there you can kind of see. They run opposite of the frame rail here. Frame's going this way, two little prongs going this way on either side of our water sensor. So that's looking clean and healthy. Okay, so here is our brand new fuel filter. Here is the part number. I bought this from my dealer. It looks like after taxes and everything, it was $70.30. So the next thing we're going to do is, and you can see it comes with the filter and the new O-ring for the filter housing cap, and there's a little O-ring in here that you want to make sure is seated proper. And the first thing we're going to do is lubricate that thing. So you want to take a clean finger, and I got some engine oil here. Now you can do this one with fuel if you want to. I like doing it with a little bit of oil. And all you're going to do is just take a little bit of residue on your finger and rub on that O-ring in there. And then we're going to go stick this up in our new filter housing. We're going to go stick this new filter in our filter housing. But I'm going to clean my hands off before I touch that thing much. So here we go with our new filter. Like I said, the tabs there that sit in there, they run, what would that be? Perpendicular to the frame. So we're going to stick our new filter up in there. And we're just going to push it on until it seats. And there we go. Now, we got one other little thing we need to do here. We're going to pull this old gasket off of here. And then we're going to put a new one on, and we're going to lubricate it. Old one. New one. A little bit of engine oil. Lube that gasket up. Keeps it from sticking the next time you got to pull this off. Alright, we're going to go ahead and throw a little bit on the threads too. And then let's go down here and stick this puppy back together. Okay, so the number one thing you want to be careful with putting this back in here is you don't want to damage that water sensor. And you don't want to cross thread this plastic thing. So you're going to make sure it's centered. Goes up in there good. And then make sure it's threading nice and comfortably. And then we'll snug that up. Just snug with our ratchet because we don't want no air leaks or anything. And then we'll go through bleeding it. It's important to note that while you're tightening on that thing, or when you're tightening on that thing, when you come to the end of the threads, you'll feel it. Don't try to force it. Just snug it up on the end of the threads and call it good. Make sure our drip cap or our water separator drain is down. And then now we're going to go bleed the fuel system in the truck and fire it back up. And we want to make sure that we have no leaks before we put our cover back on. It's also important to note too that if you want to reference this process and everything that this video is doing, it's page 426 of your 2021 EcoDiesel manual. It's 426 and 427 has the priming if the engine has run out of fuel. That's the priming procedure that we're going to go through there. So I guess we're going to first, it tells you to do this twice, but we're going to do it 4 times because a little extra fuel working through isn't a problem. So don't put your foot on the brake and then attempt to start the truck. Okay. And you can hear when the fuel pump kicks on and when it kicks off. Oh yeah, did you hear all that air working out? Since we just heard air working out, what we're going to actually do is we're going to do this 6 times. I can still hear air working out the return. What does that? Let me get you away from this dinger and see if you can hear it. Put you down here by that fuel pump house. There's fuel filter housing. And we're going to try to fire it and see what happens. There we go. All right. Now, let's double check and make sure we have no leaks. Nope, no dribbles. That's all just residual fuel. I've wiped on that with a rag. Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Since this truck's only 18 months old and there's rust on these, I'm going to clean them up on the wire wheel and then we'll reinstall our skid pan. Also going to wipe this out. Got our skid pan cleaned out there. We're going to put a little bit of anti-seize on these tiny little bolts because they're so small, and I'm afraid they're so small, and it probably will be 18 more months before I do this. So I'm just going to do it every 3rd oil change basically, and I'm doing my oil changes at every 6,000 miles. That's what the book says the severe duty interval is. And I do a little bit of towing with the truck, so I figure 6,000's good enough on a new vehicle. So probably should do 5, but it'll be alright. Okay, so now I'm just gonna get these bolts up in here, and I'll try to lay the camera here somewhere where I can get you a view of it. So let me see what I can do. Whoops. Alright, start the easy one over here first. Now, I don't know what the torque spec for these are, but I can tell you this much, they can't be much. So just snug them up. They ain't gonna fall out. And they're also 10 millimeter. Tight's right and 2 tights broke. Alright, job well done. Y'all have a good one.